Hi there, my name is Louis Cotgrove. I'm a third year PhD researcher at the University of Nottingham in German Studies, and today I'll be giving a short overview of my PhD project entitled #Glockaktiv, a corpus linguistic investigation into German youth language on YouTube. This presentation was first delivered as part of the Digital Modern Languages virtual seminar series in June 2020, so if you missed your chance to see it live, now I hope you enjoy the next 15 minutes. Or alternatively, if you did see it, then enjoy the rewatch. I'm going to disappear now, but you will be able to hear my voice as I narrate the presentation. Enjoy. This is an overview of what I will talk about today. Firstly, I'll explain in more detail about the NottDeuYTSch corpus, this corpus of YouTube comments that I have built for my PhD project. And then I'll go into some case studies, starting off with geil, which is one of the most famous youth words in the German language. Then we'll look at multilingualism and dialects, before moving on to a syntax case study, looking at word order following certain conjunctions. And finally, we will look at pictographs, that is to say, emoji and emoticons. But before I go on any further, here's a short montage of the kind of language that is used by the YouTubers themselves. We can kind of get a better idea as to why the comments are what they are.
Hallihallo meine Lieben, wir haben heute die American Candy Challenge für euch, denn wir melden uns heute das allererste Mal aus New York City für euch. Wir sind gestern Morgen
Was geht ab, meine lieben Freunde, hier ist euer Junge Simon des Juhu! Und gerade heute mal entspannt wieder unterwegs. Ihr liebt diese Videos, wo ich unterwegs bin.
Right, so hopefully you will have a better idea about the kind of comments that might be written underneath such videos. Very mainstream, what is called social media entertainment. And those kind of comments and the videos are what the Nottinghamer corpus deutsche Jugendsprache, the Nottingham corpus of German YouTube language, is made up of. So in total, I've collected just under 33 million words from about 300 YouTube videos that were all uploaded between 2008 and 2018. And as I've said here, it's a snapshot of mainstream youth culture. So some of the more countercultural or underground linguistic trends won't have been captured. This is very much what the mainstream of German or German-speaking youth culture is writing and how they are communicating. And the NottDeuYTSch corpus comes with a whole raft of metadata, including the author, timestamp, and also the thread. And that is one of the chapters of my PhD, is looking at conversational interaction. So this is kind of a short overview of how I made the corpus. I used stratified sampling of a database of about 100,000 videos. So what I did, I used a whole load of resources to find out what the most popular YouTube channels were. And I did that mainly through Bravo magazine, which is a very popular German teen magazine rather, which features or has featured since 2014 a YouTuber or a famous German-speaking YouTube star on the cover almost every month without fail. So I went through and I got about 60 German-speaking YouTubers from the last kind of 4 or 5 years and was able to include them in my corpus because Bravo represents mainstream culture, and if this YouTuber is featured in other mainstream teen media, then they're probably suitable for the corpus. And then also I used a combination of social media indexing sites like Social Blade in combination with the Wayback Machine, which allows you to view snapshots of websites as they've been cached at various points in time. So I went on Social Blade for the most popular German YouTube channels, and then under the Wayback Machine, what did this page look like in 2010? So then it would tell me what the most popular YouTube channels from 2010 were. I'd go into YouTube, find their videos, and extract the comments using an R package called Tuber. One of the things about the NottDeuYTSch corpus is that there's not a whole lot of ethnographic data. So in terms of qualitative research, this is one of the drawbacks. Unless it is self-disclosed, as in the comment here at the bottom, there is little ethnographic data. So on this slide here, we have some examples of comments taken from the corpus. We can see that they exhibit typical features of youth and online language. So intensifiers, we have here total and mega. We have loan blends, lollig, here the second word of the first comment in the top left. A combination of lol, the acronym laugh out loud, with the German adjectival ending. We have creative punctuation, loads of emoji, repetition of letters as well, creative ways of using capitalization, and also hashtags. So we have two here, hashtag Glocke aktiviert and hashtag WikiSerinefam, so that's a reference to the YouTube channel. And these are just some of the orthographic and lexical features that I investigate in my project. So the first analysis section of this presentation focuses on lexis, specifically the word geil, which is perhaps the best known example of youth language in German. So since the 1950s, geil has had three meanings. The first one, the oldest meaning, horny and sexually excited. So we can see here that occurs just over 6 tokens per million words in the NottDeuYTSch corpus. The second meaning is having a strong desire towards something. That's a more recent development since the 1950s. And in the NottDeuYTSch corpus, that features 70 tokens per million. And finally, the third and most famous meaning of geil is cool, which features far more frequently. That's been around since the 70s and features over 4,500 times per million tokens. Geil in the NottDeuYTSch corpus is incredibly productive. It's used as many different parts of speech, from interjections, geil, just like cool. We have different kinds of adjectives and also verbs. So at the bottom here we have angeilen, which means to hit on, and it appears in many typical linguistic features of youth language. So on the right hand side here we have other examples of the creative and innovative use of geil in the NottDeuYTSch corpus. So we have geil being used in new words, so klickgeil, that means to be desperate for views. We have it in other loan blends with anglicism, so like-geil, which means desperate for likes. We have innovative compounding, the word mega ober affen hammergeil, so mega above monkey hammer cool, is a great example of the over-the-top creative compounding used as an intensifier. And in fact, in the NottDeuYTSch corpus, the word geil is used over 1,000 times more frequently in standard written language. So it's incredibly popular, although it is on the decline. So as this slide shows, geil has fallen almost 6 times in use over the period of the corpus. So in 2008, it was almost 21 tokens per 1,000. So that's basically over 1 in 50 words was the word geil. And by 2018, by the end of the corpus, that has slumped considerably to just over 3 tokens per 1,000. And geil is also sensitive to content-related changes. So in the bottom graph, we can see the spikes, and they're always in December. And December is when content creators on YouTube create videos that are particularly geared towards harvesting likes and subscriptions, and therefore we see a spike in the number of times people use geil, but that's not reflected in the general frequency, as we can see in the top there, where we have just that downward trend. So this slide is an examination of the 3 different kinds of geil and how their usage has changed over time. So the horny geil at the bottom here, that has remained steady. We had a slight increase towards the beginning of the corpus, but it has since plateaued. The second meaning, the desire and desperation geil, is increasing, and we can see that because people are using that in very YouTube-related domains. So words like geil, geldgeil, klickgeil, so desperate for likes, money, views, or abelgeil, desperate for subscriptions. We see it's a response to the YouTube content environment later on in the corpus, so more recently. that shift away from very authentic amateur content to social media entertainment. And finally, the cool geil, the most popular meaning of geil, has fallen quite dramatically. It's being replaced. So geil to mean cool is actually no longer that cool anymore. It is in fact being replaced by the word cool, as well as other words such as super, hammer, krank, which means sick, which we will see in 2013. And then later in 2018, we see the English word nice, pronounced there with a bit of a German accent, and mega, which originally was an intensifier, but now is used as an interjection or adjective. So the next section will quickly touch on multilingualism and dialects. So the use of language is particularly important to express identities for young people. Janet Holmes says slang is the linguistic prerogative of young people. And in the NottDeuYTSch corpus, we see an incredible amount of linguistic creativity. One of those utilises multiple languages in the same expression, which is sometimes called translanguaging. On the right-hand side, we have a comment that is written in German, but uses some Turkish lexis and also morphosyntax, as we see here with terlik, which means slipper. So instead of mit dem Hausschuh or with the slipper, we just see mit terlik, because Turkish doesn't have separate definite articles. We also see the use of dialect in the NottDeuYTSch corpus. And one of the questions is there an interaction between use of community language and dialect? Are they mutually exclusive? Are they used together? And also, is the use of community languages increasing? Is dialect use decreasing? On the right here, we have a comment that is written in an Austrian dialect, probably Viennese or from Oberösterreich. So I ran a quick experiment to compare the use of oida, which is a famous Austrian exclamation, with lan, which is a famous Turkish exclamation, both used by young German speakers. So as we can see, there are twice as many comments containing lan than there are with oida, and lan is also increasing over time, whereas the use of oida has stayed quite stable. So perhaps the use of community languages is increasing at the expense of dialect use. And this is one of the things I definitely want to explore in more detail in my project. Now, the next section is on morphosyntax. There's a popular opinion that youth and online language is not correct, by which most people mean non-standard. Now, not correct and non-standard are two completely different concepts, although I don't have time really to go into standard language ideology. What I can demonstrate, however, is that in the NottDeuYTSch corpus, there is a higher use of non-standard syntax in some cases. Specifically, the use of main clause verb order in subordinate clauses. This kind of feature is called parataxis, as opposed to hypertaxis. Now, if we look at the example on the right-hand side, the finite verb here is ist, or is, as is how it's written. And in a hypertactic clause structure, the finite verb comes at the end of the sentence. However, in a paratactic clause structure, the word order reflects that of a main clause, i.e., in most cases, subject, verb, object. So here we see weil das ist instead of weil das voll unlogisch und kindisch ist. As I explained in the example, the most frequent subordinating conjunction where parataxis occurs is with weil, which means because. And this is a well-documented feature, not just of youth language, but of spoken language in general. However, parataxis also occurs with other subordinating conjunctions, such as obwohl, which means although, as in this example. However, parataxis and hypertaxis aren't always clear-cut. There were lots of false positives and ambiguous cases because a lot of the comments in the NottDeuYTSch corpus were written that in a way that was very similar to spoken language and not written language. And therefore the searches returned a lot of false positives and ambiguous cases, where it wasn't clear if the clause had a paratactic or hypertactic word order. So we've come to the final section of my talk, and that focuses on pictographs, i.e. emoji, emoticons, smileys or calmoji. Now what pictographs do is provide paralinguistic information to a comment, so extra information, e.g. the emotional state of the commenter. Now, for the majority of the corpus from 2008 to 2014, emoticons, i.e. punctuation-based pictographs, were the most popular way of expressing emotion. But since 2015, the emoji has exponentially increased to be the most popular type of pictograph, and we can see that quite clearly in the graph on the right-hand side. The number of emoji per 1,000 comments in 2018 stood at over 3,000, i.e. there was an average of 3 emoji per comment. They are used slightly differently. So with emoji we see the repetition of the symbol or a mixture of similar symbols for intensification purposes. If, say, someone's very happy, they put lots of smiley faces. However, with emoticons, intensification is achieved through different purposes, i.e. the repetition of often the last character or the character that represents the mouth. So here at the bottom we see 3 crying with laughter smileys versus colon followed by 5 Ds. And both mean very similar things, but are achieved using different means. Now, moving on to the most popular pictographs. Were you right? You might have guessed that the Oxford Word of the Year 2015, the face with tears of joy, was the most frequent emoji. And it was true for the UK, it's true for Germany. Although it only narrowly beats heart eyes emoji to first place, both at well over 300,000 emoji in the corpus. One of the more German-specific pictographs is the 6th one of the emoticon column. We can see it's the 2 chevron signs there, which represent smiling eyes and eyebrows. Now, this isn't very popular in the UK at all. However, in Germany, it seems to really have taken hold over the past 15 to 20 years. Surprisingly, we see a unicorn in the top 10 emoji, and you might have guessed from the slide at the 5-minute mark that this emoji is particularly associated with one particular YouTube channel. And it has become a custom for subscribers and commenters underneath these videos to leave lots of unicorns in the comments. So that was just a brief overview of just some of the linguistic features of German online youth language, but the NottDeuYTSch corpus contains so much more. If you're interested in finding out more, you can email me or you can pause the video and check out the references once I've finished speaking. Thank you very much. I've been Louis Cotgrove. I hope you've enjoyed the video.